Today I want to provide some comfort or guidance for those who feel heavy. So what I plan to do is that I will draw 2 cards, and each of those cards I will do a little reading for. And you can choose the cards by however feels correct to you. You could decide you want to look at one of them readings. You can decide you want to look at both. You can look at half. Feel free to do whatever it is you want to do. That was a lot of cards. I'll take one of them here and one from here. So for the first reading that I'll be doing, your card is Turmeric. Set that aside here. And for the second reading that I'll be doing, the card is the Schisandra berry. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay, so let me put this away, and I will try to find some objects to place in case you need some help choosing. Okay, I'm back and I have found these 2 little objects to help anyone who is having difficulty choosing between the 2 readings to choose. So for turmeric, I have this marker that is this orange-yellow color, quite bright. I don't know if you can see. Yes. And for the Schisandra berry, which is known in Chinese as I literally just looked this up, but I might have already forgotten. I have this little egg-shaped shaker. So feel free to pause and take a moment, take as long as you want to choose. And yeah, I'll see you in your reading. Hello, my lovely first pile for today. So today I'll be asking, for those with a heavy heart, what words or advice might you want to hear? And for pile number 1, we have the turmeric with the marker. So today I'll be shuffling, I think, 2 decks, 2 other decks other than the first ones. This one I really love because it has a lot of positive affirmations. And then I'll use my tarot deck to hopefully get a little more of a complete picture of what might be going on and what might be helpful to hear. So pile number 1, how might the universe want to guide you today? Oh, this one looks like it stuck out. Your affirmation message for today is, your mud has purpose, with the lotus. So let me just place that over here. It's very interesting because I was reading the little notebook that came with this deck with the turmeric, and the person who wrote it was talking about how like their first time working under a medicine practitioner, they spent the whole time cutting turmeric root. I also find it interesting that both of these are roots. There's something about, I think, something sticking with something maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking about how lotus kind of grows from the mud. The roots are in the mud and you don't really see them typically until they flower. us as humans, we don't see them. And turmeric, I'm thinking about how the stains stay on skin or on clothing for a while, if not forever. Everything's kind of stained yellow. So if you've clicked on this, I'm sorry to hear that you're having a rough time. And I think these cards are showing at least an initial message of it may be heavy now, and with time it will become clearer why perhaps you have been going through this, or at least there will feel like there's meaning to what you're going through. So let me consult my tarot deck and ask, okay, let's see. Pile number 1. What is some of the mud that you've been going through? We have the Knight of Wands. Oh, all right, a bunch of cards wanted to come out. Let me see. We have, oh, I forgot to show you this card. Let me show you. We have the 7 of Cups. Okay, very interesting. So just from these 2 cards, what I notice here is there's like this duality between being kind of stuck in indecision between many options that seem about the same but feel very important. And also with the Knight of Wands just kind of charging forward. So some of the mud that you may have been going through is feeling this conflict between wanting to make the right choice and feeling stuck and anxious about which decision you're making, and simultaneously feeling the pull, the urgency, and the desire to quickly move forward. You want things to be done, you want to act quickly because it feels better to you that way, I think. I'm going back to your mud has purpose. And I'm thinking there is value to both of these and striking a balance, but I may be speaking too much. Let me add more tarot cards. So I think I was asking the cards, what is the mud that you are going through? Let's see more about it. Oh, 10 of Cups. Wow. The fact that it's coming up next to the 7 of Cups makes me think that you want to make the right decision in order to feel like you have this very complete, like, blissful life. Let's see. We have the 6 of Cups. I forgot to show you this one up close. Here you go. And we have the 5 of Cups. I wonder if this is kind of telling a story. So what I see is that maybe in the beginning, you felt very, like, decisive and quick acting. You just did whatever the heck you wanted, and it felt really good. And then you were confronted with this idea of like a perfect life. Like maybe it's a perfect relationship or a perfect family or otherwise a perfect community. And to get there, you began to get stuck on particulars and on feeling like maybe one choice will lead you down a wrong road, or only one of these things will be able to lead me there, if at all. And you were stuck here for a while, perhaps. And felt as though what I'm getting here for some reason is that maybe the only way you thought you could do things was to push on ahead. So you wanted to explore a choice like right away, as deeply as possible. And when it didn't end up in this, you felt really remorseful and sad, like you'd made a huge mistake and your whole life was upturned. And I think with the Six of Cups here, what I'm kind of picking up is the Six of Cups is kind of about this idea, this like idealized romance or childhood, or hopes and dreams that feel very nostalgic. And I think you have been perhaps coming back to these dreams of yours, or perhaps the universe is, or at least I am, through the cards, guiding you to think about what has brought you joy in the past and the present. And what I'm taking from this is that the Your Mud Has Purpose card perhaps reflects the fact that through all of these experiences, through all of this trouble, there's a thread that weaves through it all, which is what exactly you wish for or want. And that if you reach more and more towards that, you will be able to find a way through, perhaps. Let me ask the tarot deck, actually. I may be jumping ahead. What advice through the situation might you give the listener today? Okay, I think this card wanted to come out. We have the Page of Swords. So the Swords suit is a suit of intellect. And the page also captures like that childhood or childlike wonder and vitality, zest for life, I think. In this Page of Swords, the tale that is depicted on this card is that of a woman who has gone through many hardships and never gives up through all of it. She's gone through a lot of grief. I believe her brothers die or are transformed, and she goes on a journey to do what they could not do. And in the process, she ends up reviving them, as well as making a fortune and catching the attention, I think, of the royal family at the time or something. This is a fictional story, by the way. But what the Page of Swords is thematically is like the idea that if you are to follow that kind of zest for life, don't give up on your mind, don't give up on what you know to be true, and keep moving forward, then things will be okay. Let me since this is an important part of your reading, let me actually consult the guidebook and see how off I was according to this author. Let's see what the keywords are for the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords represents youthful intelligence. Princess Parizade uses her wit to succeed where others have failed, her optimism intact through it all. She is a harbinger of new beginnings and new ideas for herself and those around her. So keywords are talkativeness, energy, thoughtfulness, curiosity, and truthfulness. Again, I think bringing it back to what I saw in this card, that like childlike zest for life, that curiosity that drives you. I think the Five of Cups is kind of one of reflection as well on what you're grieving. And I think with the cards are inviting you to consider what it is that you're grieving, to really think about it, feel it, and know on what behalf you are grieving, or rather, like, what is the value or purpose that drives you, that makes you grieve this thing. So, and in that sense, your mud has purpose. The cards are saying it's okay to have a lot of mud in your life right now, and know that you can take meaning from it moving forward. You can move forward from this. It may be difficult. It may leave some stains. But you have the power. All of your energy is there. All of your healing power is there within you. Yeah, for some reason, what just came to my head was I was looking at the Knight of Wands, and what came to mind was you can move toward that again. You don't have to necessarily be stuck in indecision land, or captured by this greed of this ideal future. You can just move towards what you know has made you a little bit happier in the past. In this card and in the Ice Queen story, there's this looming snowy tower, and the evil Ice Queen ends up kidnapping the boy. And the girl goes on this long journey to save him. And by the end, I believe they're reunited, but nothing's really the same, you know? Life touches us. Life hurts us in a lot of ways, and through it all, we still have all of our experiences, and we can still make meaning out of what is there. And we can still move towards something that's just a little bit better every day. That is my reading for you, dear pile number 1 with the turmeric. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, I'm a little rusty with my reading, and my brain has not been working quite right recently. So thank you for bearing with me, and I hope that this has been helpful and comforting to you as it has been for me. Hello, pile number 2. Thank you for coming to this reading today. So just to reintroduce your deck or your reading, we have the Schisandra berry that you chose, as well as this red egg shaker. So how I will start this reading is by pulling an oracle card. This is a deck that has brought me much gentle joy and comfort. It has a piece of nature illustration, as well as a little affirmation phrase. So something that I found was interesting as I read about the Schisandra berry is that in traditional Chinese medicine, it is considered kind of like a medicine as well as like a symbol of like wholeness and completeness, because it has all 5 different energies or tastes in the traditional Chinese medicine framework. So I'm not sure how that will do with your reading yet, but let us begin. So I wanted to ask the universe on your behalf today, if you're feeling heavy, what are some supportive messages and some advice for us today? We have feel it all with an open heart. Usually the natural messages are more plant-oriented or season-oriented. And I suppose there is a full moon. That's a very interesting and beautiful message. I'm noticing already there's this theme of, let me put this here actually since you can't see it there. So I'm noticing this message of completion, completeness with the person who is embodying joy, despite the many presumed wounds that people might have given them. They are full of life in this moment. And feel it all kind of also embodies that. Feel it all with an open heart, perhaps despite what you are going through, or because of what you're going through. So I have a tarot deck with me today to help me pinpoint some messages that are a little more clear for me to read. Please bear with me, it has been a while. And I do not know tarot so masterfully. Of course, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. So the question I want to ask first is, what is the reason you are coming today with a heavy heart, perhaps? Is there any guidance on this? Any insight, perhaps, to consider? This card came out for me. We have the King of Wands with the Phoenix. What a beautiful card. There's this idea of rebirth in the Phoenix, of course. And in many East Asian cultures, the Phoenix is kind of associated with like yin energy, as opposed to yang, which is more associated with a dragon and more associated with like masculine energies. Everyone has forms of both. Ooh, perhaps for some of you, since this card depicts someone with top surgery who presumably is either trans or otherwise, felt like they wanted to or had to go through this for themselves, for the sake of their being and their truth. Perhaps for some of you, this is quite literally some sort of rebirth, whether related to queerness and identity, or more tied to perhaps tradition. Perhaps you are finding your own meaning within these structures that were passed down, perhaps, or that were pushed by the people around you. And perhaps you feel a little bit lost and alone for some reason, is the word that came to mind. perhaps alone in this knowledge or truth or responsibility. Yeah, it's interesting because the wand's energy is, to me, I associate with more masculine energy perhaps, or at least one of action and like pursuit, persistence, like this fire, a blazing fire. So it's an interesting dichotomy in what I'm thinking. There's this sun-looking thing, or perhaps a moon, a blazing moon perhaps, as well as this quieter moon that could also look like a sun. Yeah, this feels so coherent so far. I'm pleasantly surprised by this. So, my dear pile number 2, I'm taking terms from White Feather Tarot, Love Ream. I'm not sure what to ask actually, but this card did come up for me, so I will pull it and see. So I will see if this card actually maybe answers a question I didn't know I had. The High Priestess. Okay, I think this card confirms what I've been saying so far with the moon and the sun themes, but more so the moon right now. The High Priestess in this tale that is depicted is a card of insight, knowledge, storytelling. It's a card of quiet intelligence and strength in understanding subtleties that others might miss and applying them to the world quietly, and of taking time to rest for yourself. I think so. The lady that is depicted here is the narrator of the Arabian Nights, and she tells stories to avoid, I believe, getting executed by I forget what the term is, the Sultan perhaps, who was looking for a wife or mistresses and tended to kill off the people who he wasn't satisfied with. Something like that. And she ended up telling him stories and captivating him with her stories and telling them in such a way to keep him hooked and wanting to come back the next night for more or to learn more. So she was a very intelligent and thoughtful woman. And I think the question that this answered for me was, I was wondering here in terms of why perhaps you are feeling heavy today. I was wondering which of the sun, moon, yang or yin sort of energies was more present today. And I think the High Priestess says the moon is more present, and it is also more comforting. So my question now, my attention was pulled back to this Feel It All card. I'm going to ask, what are the cards here inviting you to lean more into right now? Ooh, these cards came out. That top one especially. Let me show you. We have Strength. And I think these two cards are, oh, let me move things around a little. I believe the next two cards are kind of explaining strength. we have the Hierophant. Oh, big major arcana cards today. What a powerful reading. And the next card we have is the Emperor. So that's really interesting because now we have these more institutional, dominant. I mean, the Emperor is depicting an old man, right? King Arthur, with a lot of power. And they're both very strong figures. The Hierophant, who in the tarot archetypes is the way that someone is initiated into the world through perhaps either tradition, learnings, teachings, maybe mentors, or other authority figures. It's very interesting how my question earlier, that there was more of this passive energy present, how the reading is actually suggesting that feeling it all might mean leaning more into your strength, your power, the power that you have within you. Perhaps you find it difficult to do so. Yeah, perhaps you find it difficult to do so because of these institutions and traditions or norms that have been pushed upon you. And perhaps you feel like it is difficult to lean into that when you have not found your own community. There's like that duality, right? These things can be very harmful when they don't really match people well, or they are more oppressive. If they have power by putting other people down. But right now, the energy that I'm getting from these is that you can draw from wherever your ancestry lies, even if it is painful. You can draw from practices and influential figures to you. In my head, what came up was you can choose your ancestors to lend you their strength, to help you find your own strength that exists already. This doesn't feel quite complete to me yet, so I'm going to draw another card or two. I think what I want to ask is, feel it all. What message might you give, cards, to help maybe not push necessarily, but inspire our listener to reach that tipping point to where they can feel like they can feel it all, or to feel like they are feeling it all in a way that feels whole and uniting of these parts in themselves. Okay, I think this card came out. What is a message for our dear listener today? How can they feel it all? How can they lean into what they want to lean into within them? All right, I'm shuffling and no cards are coming out, so I will say it is just this one. We have the Nine of Cups. In this story depicted in the Nine of Cups, actually a story I believe told by this High Priestess character, I forgot her name already, in the Arabian Nights. I believe. I may be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But in this story, there is a prince who falls in love with a princess and wants to win her over, but the princess is lesbian. And so the prince disguises himself as a woman and they fall in love. So it's interesting because while the Nine of Cups is this idea of like blissful happiness and community and love, in this card is also some kind of a mask, or like even if this started as deception, I don't know whether the man ended up embracing this side of himself or feeling like it was truly him by the end. And the woman, of course, probably would have had a lot going on as well if or when she realized that he was a man and deceived her. But at least in this moment, they are happy. So I think for how to feel it all, what I want to say is that life is complicated. Identity stuff is messy. You're allowed to feel your strength. You're allowed to act on this grounding that you know is you, that you know is within you. You are whole in yourself. Even if you might feel like things are difficult, even if you might feel as though you are putting on some paint that doesn't feel like you, as long as it comes from a place of sincerity and genuineness, in the long run, I think everything will work out. You will not end up dissatisfied. And so, dear listener, I think that concludes your reading. I hope you enjoyed. This one was very precious to me. And it makes me so happy to see how powerful all of this imagery for you has been. Yeah. Thank you for listening and hope to see you next time.